Bafana abajulizi Super Council from County and the Secretary for Youth Services of the local government. In a project, Mamako is a chikwetire niyo kubanga kuzandika nibali bibefe abamire mu ministry abakolera dena kitongole kibalanga UNESCO Uganda abale bano bali kubanga bayita ku conservinga ekibalanga ecosystem or urban promote ecosystem basile na bibili bibefe Mount Elgon luliko National Game Park meeting objective bere kuliyene niyo kubona kutena abantu bamanya kumpine chibira gerefanya babanga bamenyamu nibale bewuwa nibale ni chibira ekeno kula babanga bakola biri mu jawe nga kama tetekanizile ecosystem now Uganda district of course buli department pia natural resource nga muli mokoli kwa natural resource department yokubanga bageza kona preserving environment era ni kubanga bazamubya babulire batu China kulija ku preserving environment muli bibira muli gamezi muli wetlands muli nibitu now was kubere on the recent past babere ni bigali nga byambaganya ni boundary iya kibira ke mountain era liso nga lese president le meeting yenyo kubona kuti government iye ndeko nabi imenga ikuwa clear boundaries then national game park ya Ikondi eko abantu bafana bya bale bazikale bano ni community balwana kana bulisawa cyamupita nenga kitabuzi niyo kuba anti abantu bamanya bala boundaries tada kyekabiri cyo kitabuzi uniyo no kubona kuti abantu aliyo bagana kutambira National Game Park amwe nibakumanya process yes babitamu kunanga baba ni license zibakugirisa babenga baza babanga batamisa kisalida so ano ku meeting eswera kuna kuti kugeza kuna kubona kuti kusomesa abantu communities kubona kuti bamanya ngeri kinasanya ba apply ka licenses babanga nyasa kuza muri sai bafune malisi bafune ziku baze bayige bagana kuyigako igamale wani bitu bi now bitu la school fighting ile kwa mkono government gamberi igana kuona abantu befo bakubata mu sali ngani baloma kote wewe nkola ye compensate abantu kuba abantu bala bali bili compensate ni ku bali bili kubanga batulai nibuze bwisi bulinti batu bano bamenyera mu kisali yo myaka ni myaka nabo balinga batu kubonanga bafuna muzibu atinga kumere bula itu mutali mu kifo myaka ni myaka kumanye sali kwirada ariko makuti government itewe nkola iye kubanga kisoka eganikani abantu ba directly affected dekwanga abantu stakeholders amira kupindi kisali skilina ni aliyo batu baba directly affected bano baba ganika maswa ngisi government element yongere kuri swale bali ye kisa balange batu bo bitlankinga nabo baba sensitizing bamano bafunira ka package tuwado mutali kutulayo obakole kaliswa liye bali tekuli byongere kuri kisa yabeko ni package yesa afuna ajali takubanga afuna alternative way of living gani bali kukola ku batu bali mira mu wetlands bafunire program yo district ngabatu bala bakompensatinga baba funira bitu bya bisonyala bakola batu la mu wetlands kandi bere same case ni abantu betuwe ukisa kwa mazi magaleti batu bali kufana atodi yanga batu bene bali ku west bali kukesagana nabo lola mala kutesa nabo bafudisa na ku bitu bindi natumule bakubulira ati bo bulisawa baba transfer so otesa kumuntu bitya lero bamusawa mugambo weerirewo eza ndafunyaka jesi motesa nino muntu wazero so kuma government bene ikola intensifying sensitization mu communities zo na chindi kulinikani ni school clubs ziko kizana kutumia environment kulini wildlife clubs masomero kulini nature Uganda masomero ni clubs zini kama government ifewe kola iye kuempowering and supporting such clubs kuba nako babuka nibanyala baida okubanga babulira enjiri okukonsavinga environment batozobesa omwana nga muyajibira watubire kusala kugenda kubyala kiri kitano kikula kiri mubongo nti ngabona omuntu akutema kisala batbam otemaaki byala bisala kiri kitano kubanga konsavinga environment yefu mubisiro gyoni yabeere mubizibu bigali bye floods bye mudslides ni landslides bitoweza nabyo kukozinga wale kuba nti ikulagana yefu ya abantu ni bibira ni bitu byalabye sikuniku banubye sikuniku nyanabyo bulayi mu mbere ndai babitambisire bubi batu bakalira misala batu bali kuli bamatafali kubizinyinje batu bamatafali batu bali bameko kama fizikali zintu zini konse baku kuzinyinje ngazo so government iri kunyuka hasi eganayeza iboneti kubulira batu ntamba kino je banyala bakozesa kubona bati batambisa bisu babulayi kwaba ngakufuna bye sikukugana nenga atakwatira mu protecting the environment so nione songezo ne meeting eremu era kusimana atugonga n'abajjasire okweza baba nafwe ninabo naye babere ba media na mwanya lokweza mwabanga kwamba isonga zibere mugati mu meeting so briefing yo byo bibere mu meeting esikamo kwa mabwe
Sense bana ngbe Frederick Isa district councilor we gombolo ye busu namakwe mwegeje namakwa mu meeting ino ne abe meeting esi sabat kandi batukalo kuba tindalo tabat kakulu chenjiro eferu mazabaru Mount Elgon ngakoni gose nalo mbere je honorable James fefe nga barangirisi be bukisu sabe ndi kusabana ira chesi namoka ni mu meeting ndi lutawolole ku Mount Elgon reservation park game park bale befona bakula kama abatsene baruswe kama yake kulia kama yero babimisi rumundu atokukula kama leya bamopira tsinga afutawe kwa uli information mbere mundu wabulenga afune basikala yabitsa lukana batinyaka nefo holoma kore ibindu bino singaholomera kore kulekera babi ali babamenya bini luchi banarunyalata babero siba elwanu sendi uko pirisa barangise basha so kwamera ko LC1 paka LC5 chairman we mbale district minister Muhammad Mababi ni be MPs be right from abantu besendi ko right from na misindwa rukinjiriso rwamira wamena misindwa kwitse ibududa kwame bududa kwitse manafa kwame manafa kwitse mbale district kwame mbale district mbale site kutse wala paka kabuchora murambo lisironko rukinjira nganirwa cyane mu Elgon zone kwenyo hatwera kubene right up inya yakuyeta as Elgon zone leaders president munashenga binde yitire shale lemba arabe bidunga binonga holo bakara PDM ne mwabo no mundu nya wa president nga handuka nafe kwamanya ko president wa mara netiso gatse rukinyo Elgon niyo shiyanga fushi such that maybe we'll be united na refe shora bwanga fungefe limbaro wa Elgon zone kwawo kana mu mundu ngwamire na misindo baro mukiso na misindo ukundwe budude bari umudude ukundwe mana afa bari we mana uwe mbale bari mbale so shindu yoshina kuyetata abantu befe at the end of the day abantu befe bari kubonyabonya bambasaba so sendi operesa nditsindalo tinotamenya over 20-30 years ndikusaba government iya Uganda na president akuyetenga kwa uniting renga nina mu requesting abarangisi bashazo kwamera hasi ukani abantu funa umuntu wo representing ukani his president ite mutsindalo tino akuyete loko abantu ba uwa bakubonyabonye saba abantu befe nabi no uyumanya talo kuba police yawe ne kwa kumanya loko bana baba they have their responsibilities ngani baba room so but we want to know kumanye kumonaizinga kuriye for God that my country mwanya.
I know that whatever you propose today is very well accepted and we shall protect, promote and also encourage whatever you have decided. I want you to know, members in this meeting, that the president is very, very passionate in protecting the environment and protecting and conserving our environment. So everyone here has a role to play to protect and conserve the environment. That is the reason I know everyone is here. So members, we are going to partner with you, UNESCO and UWA. We've always worked with you to conserve our environment. But they don't know. The other day, we had a meeting last year. They had tied one of our friends on a charcoal bag and they threw that person over the cliff up to our side in Uganda, and it was very bad. And that time, we had lost about 8 people. Why? Because people do not respect those gazetted areas. They are not supposed to go there. So people are dying there, we have killings there, we have rebels in the park. Then they are killing the birds that would bring us income, revenue to Uganda. Can you imagine people go to the park and start killing these birds? Yet, these poor people are paid to even know what particular time the birds are supposed to gather in what area, so that we can have revenue from. There are people who come from abroad to come and see these birds. So the poor people have to know the exact time the birds are coming to settle, so that our tourists can look at these birds. And then people come and kill these birds. So members, it is on us that we conserve and protect our what? Gazetted areas. With those few words, I would like to close this meeting and engagement officially. Thank you for listening to me. My name is Namara Solome Juliet, and the RDC of Namisindwa. Thank you so much for good and my country.
Dominic Ngugo Lali, Deputy Secretary General, Uganda National Commission for UNESCO. Uganda National Commission for UNESCO is a national liaison agency for UNESCO matters in Uganda. It coordinates Uganda with UNESCO and UNESCO with Uganda, and also the government agencies, ministries, and individuals that are doing activities within UNESCO's area of mandate. UNESCO is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. It's an intergovernmental organization founded in 1945, immediately after the end of the Second World War. It was one of the culture and communication, hence the acronym UNESCO. Now UNESCO's mandate is in 5 areas, as I said, but the focus that has brought us here is in the natural science. The science of UNESCO is in both natural and social. Now this is under natural sciences, where UNESCO looks at environmental issues, UNESCO looks at its science policy, UNESCO looks at issues of water, issues of disasters, and issues of energy. Mount Elgon is a UNESCO designated area, and that is why we are here. There are 2 areas of this type. One is Queen Elizabeth. These 2 areas are called biosphere reserves. Biosphere reserves because these places were created when there were indigenous communities resident, long before government made these places protected areas. And therefore, not only here, all over the world, there are over 760 such sites, like Mount Elgon, like Queen Elizabeth, where indigenous communities settled long before the government made them protected areas. And in such areas, UNESCO needs to have a recognition of these indigenous communities, historical people. Because before government came in, before they were put as the protected areas, the indigenous communities coexisted with the animals, with the plants in the wild. Meaning that they have got an adaptation, they have got some indigenous knowledge which helped them survive in the wild and to stay with these animals. So UNESCO is trying to, by designating these sites, helping the governments to recognize that this conservation should take into account these people. Now, the case in Mount Elgon, for example, is that there have been challenges in the management, because in 2005 was when this place was made a UNESCO site. Previous to that, it was a forest reserve in the 1980s. Thereafter, it was transferred to Uganda Wildlife Authority. Now, in the hands of Uganda Wildlife Authority, then it became a biosphere reserve. Unfortunately, over the years, there has been a conflict between the local people and the Uganda Wildlife Authority. This conflict has manifested in various ways. Last year, we got a report, a petition was written by the people called Bennett from Sebei to UNESCO headquarters, and they were complaining that they were being mistreated. But before that also, we had a report from the Uganda Wildlife Authority also complaining that some people are being cut using pangas and so on by the local people. Now this was crisscrossing. Then we had newspaper reports with pictures of local Bennett called the Mosopsiek, who had been injured, and also we had stories. So the headquarters in Paris passed this information over to us. We contacted the Uganda Wildlife Authority, and then we discovered there was a problem of collaboration. There was no collaborative management. So what has brought here, through UNESCO, we managed to get some funding to build collaboration, but in a manner that is what we call ecosystem approach. Ecosystem approach is where you look in totality. It's a holistic approach to managing natural resources in a manner that, one, does not compromise the needs of conservation, but it takes care of the society needs. That means the livelihood of the local people, and number three, the interest of development. And that is in line with UNESCO's principles of biosphere reserve. So we are here, and tomorrow we'll be in Sebei meeting the people there on mechanisms of building collaborative structure, collaborative system, so that we have continuous dialogue to minimize, if necessary, to reduce or remove conflict in managing the natural resources. Who should not look at the local communities as people who are stubborn or not understanding. On the other hand, the local communities should not look at Uganda Wildlife Authority as restricted, but should understand, as today's workshop has demonstrated. I'm glad that today people have understood from the recommendations, the resolutions, everybody has understood, one, that this natural resource is owned by the people. Who is just a caretaker, is just holding this in trust for the people. And therefore, people have demonstrated here, and they have made a resolution, if you were listening, that they want to go back and collaborate, mobilize their people, and some of them are saying even to pass the bylaws and you know, necessary regulations, so that the community comes on board, the community appreciates and collaborates and cooperates. So that is what we want to also go and listen to the people on the other side. First of all, to give them awareness, to make them understand, appreciate that it is not one person's thing, and that the community cannot be turned against UA, and UA cannot be against the community. But they need to collaborate, work together, so that they are able to realize the objectives for which this place is created, and the objectives for which UNESCO has designated the place as a biosphere reserve, to cater for the interests of the local people, but also meeting the balance between the needs for society, needs for community, and need for development. Clear that one, the local leaders, and that's why we call them, we all identified the RDCs and the chief administrative officer, and the natural resource officers and production officers, that they have a lot of work to do through the extension system, that the communities will be made to understand. They have a role to educate the community, the population, about their role in conservation. They need to balance exploitation for livelihood with the need to keep the natural resources sustainable for the coming generation. People have to do their work in that area. And also they should demonstrate that. Two, they should identify alternative livelihood means, whereby, for example, if people, instead of always going to the park to look for malewa in the wild, should find alternative ways of propagating malewa in areas within which outside here. I demonstrated them that the park is big, they go to the areas where they are not supposed to go in the buffer zone. We have the transitional area which is big, within which they can cultivate. The same is with the mushroom. Mushroom can also be cultivated. Number 3, the firewood. We can establish wood lots in our homesteads so that we don't always have to run for firewood in the wild. And then finally, other means like beekeeping, which is green, which is good, where the bees help in pollination, they can introduce them. Some people, as a person where we are going tomorrow, have been complaining they want to go and graze their animals in the park. The law doesn't allow grazing in the park. We could adopt the approach of zero grazing so that the people grow their pasture and the animals stay in one place if you are in another within the transitional zone, instead of looking for grazing animals to be taken there. So that's the call we have made.